Quote, "On the following Sunday, the 8th of said month, they drew near to the mainland in a large bay which they called Baja de los Fumos, because of the many smokes which they saw on it. Here they held a colloquy with some Indians, whom they captured in a canoe, and who made signs that toward the north there were Spaniards like them. This bay is in 35 degrees and is a good port, and the country is good, with many valleys, plains, and groves." Unquote. This was the earliest known written description of Santa Monica Bay and its inland country, future Los Angeles, from the journals of the voyage of Juan Rodriguez Cabrillo, written October 8, 1542. Sebastian Vizcaino's voyage in 1602 doesn't mention much about the mainland of Los Angeles, as the ship decided to visit San Catalina Island instead. It didn't matter because Cabrillo had already claimed the land in the name of Spain back in 1542, so Spain ruled the area from the northern tip of Baja California northwards as Alta California or Upper California. By 1769, the Spanish military officer and the first governor of Los Californias, or Alta and Baja Californias together, was named Gaspar de Portola. He and Franciscan friar Juan Crespi were on an expedition from Laredo, Mexico to Alta California, looking for Monterey Bay, located near future San Francisco, California. They had already reached a barren San Diego, leaving mission president and friar Junipero Serra to set up the mission there, and by August 2nd, Portola had reached future Los Angeles, a more mountainous coastal region than San Diego, on their way to Monterey Bay. While there, they experienced earthquakes, tar fields, and met a number of villagers before continuing on their way to Monterey. 2 years later, in 1771, Friar Serra ordered the building of Mission San Gabriel Archangel near the area. 5 years later, in 1776, Spanish officer Corporal José Vicente Filez arrived in California with the Anza expedition, settling at Mission San Gabriel Archangel. In 1781, the fourth governor of Los Californias, Philip de Nieve, was tasked with establishing new settlements. For the site of one of these settlements, he chose a semi-flat coastal area with mountains to the north, about 120 miles north of San Diego, and about 9 miles southwest of Mission San Gabriel. For the settlers, Nieve chose 11 families totaling up to 44 people from Sinaloa to Sonora to settle the land. After a long trek, the settlers gathered at Mission San Gabriel, where they were joined by 2 priests and 4 soldiers as escorts. Together, they traveled to the location of the planned settlement. Officer Filez was one of the 4 soldiers appointed to guard the 44 settlers who founded what would be called El Pueblo de Nuestra Señora la Reina de Los Angeles, or the town of Our Lady, the Queen of the Angels. By 1787, he was appointed the first mayor of the Los Angeles Pueblo. In return for his services in 1795, he was given one of the earliest land grants made in California, a 6,647-acre property encompassing the foothills and mesa just a few short miles northwest of the Pueblo of Los Angeles was granted to Filez by the Spanish governor Diego de Borreca. This property was named Rancho Los Feliz. One of the more prominent features of Rancho Los Feliz was its Twin Peak mountain range, originally known as the Three Sisters. While the eastern peak of what is now called Mount Lee was left unnamed, the other 2 peaks were named Cahuenga and Burbank Peaks. By 1821, the Mexican government had successfully gained their independence from Spain, becoming its own sovereign nation rather than a viceroyalty. In December of 1831, the first of 2 battles were fought at Cahuenga Pass. It started off as a petition to an unpopular governor for democratic reforms. The governor responded by calling the petitioners traitors and ordering the execution of 2 of them. The petitioners went and took over Los Angeles. The governor led troops to drive them off. At Cahuenga Pass, the 2 forces didn't want to fight each other to the death, So after an initial standoff, they decided to have a lance-off. For the governor's side, Captain Jose Antonio Romaldo Pacheco would face off against Jose Maria Avila of the petitioners. After losing the lance-off, Avila shot Pacheco dead. The governor then shot Avila dead, and in response, the leader of the petitioners drove his lance into the governor's face, wounding him and ending the battle. The governor survived, but soon resigned. By 1843, over 20 years after Mexico gained its independence from Spain, the Rancho Los Feliz land grant was finally confirmed by the then Mexican governor to a descendant of Feliz. The second battle, the Battle of Providencia, fought in 1845 near present-day Burbank, California, was an early skirmish in the lead-up to the Mexican-American War. Occurring in Mexican-controlled Alta California, this clash, named for the nearby Providencia Ranch area, stemmed from tensions between American settlers and Californians over land and authority. Though less documented than other battles, it foreshadowed the larger conflict that would soon engulf the region. As the Mexican-American War began in 1846, fighting reached Southern California with the Battle of San Pascual on December 6, 1846, near modern Escondido. U.S. forces under General Stephen W. Kearny faced California Lancers led by Andres Pico in a bloody, inconclusive encounter. This was followed by the Battle of Los Angeles, where U.S. troops initially occupied the city in 1846, but were expelled by a California uprising, only to reclaim it in January of 1847 after further skirmishes. The Southern California campaign ended with the Treaty of Cahuenga, signed on January 13, 1847 at Campo de Cahuenga near the Cahuenga Pass. Negotiated between John C. Fremont and Andres Pico, the treaty saw the Californios surrender in exchange for amnesty and property rights, securing California for the United States. The Mexican-American War wasn't over officially, but for California, the fighting ended. After the Mexican-American War, California became part of the United States and was granted statehood in 1850. With the U.S. Congress passing the Land Act in 1851, the property had to be confirmed once again. A claim was filed to keep the land in 1852, which was finally granted in 1871. However, it seems as though the descendant of Feliz died before then because the land was sold to Antonio F. Cornell in 1863, who sold it to a man named James Lick. So from 1871 until his death in 1876, Lick owned the property. Then, a man named Griffith J. Griffith, who had gotten wealthy in the mining industry, purchased 4,071 acres of the land in 1882. In the spirit of philanthropy, Griffith donated 3,015 acres, about less than half of the original grant, to the city of Los Angeles in 1896 to be made into a permanent park. The city accepted, and in return named the 3,015-acre portion of Rancho Los Feliz Griffith Park. Harvey and Dieta Wilcox, two wealthy prohibitionists from Kansas, arrived in Los Angeles in 1883. There they gave birth to a son who would sadly die 19 months later. To console themselves, they would take horse rides through the Cahuenga Valley. During these rides, they discovered a small apricot and fig orchard just southwest of future Griffith Park. They decided to purchase it and some of the surrounding land, totaling up to 160 acres to grow fruit. Dieta had an acquaintance who had an estate in Illinois that was named Hollywood, and so that's what they decided to name the ranch. Later, a land developer named Hubert Johnstone Whitley came to Los Angeles and purchased 400 acres next to the ranch, with the intent of building a thriving suburb of Los Angeles. Whitley also decided to name his tract Hollywood. He asked the Wilcoxes to donate some land, which they did. By then, the fruit ranch was failing, and they were expecting a real estate boom. So in 1887, the Wilcoxes decided to subdivide the remaining property for sale. There is one narrative of how the land was named Hollywood that has become more of a legend than fact. In it, Whitley would have written about being on his way to the area for his honeymoon and encountering a Chinese man dragging a wagon full of wood with him. Whitley asked the man what he was doing, and the man simply responded, "I'm hauling wood," in a Chinese accent. Regardless of how the name came to be, Hollywood would be the name, and the land was quickly bought up. After Harvey Wilcox died in 1891, his wife Dieta remarried and would lead efforts in developing a city hall, library, police station, a school, and a park. Whitley would go on to build the Hollywood Hotel. The earliest known film to be shot in Los Angeles, not Hollywood, was an Edison film where filmographer Frederick Bletchenden and director James White filmed some traffic walking down South Spring Street, Los Angeles, in late 1897. Hollywood would be incorporated into a city in 1903, and one of the first things they did was ban the sale of alcohol. They went on to ban other things such as pool halls, bowling alleys, and movie theaters. In 1909, William Selig opened the very first Los Angeles film studio, but not in Hollywood. That was banned there. Instead, it opened in Edendale, and he had the entrance of the studio built to resemble what was now the old Mission San Gabriel. In the early years of Hollywood, however, the residents suffered from a water shortage. This led to a vote of annexation in 1910, which would incorporate the city of Hollywood into the city of Los Angeles. With incorporation came some changes. Hollywood's Main Street, Prospect Avenue, became Hollywood Boulevard, and the theater and alcohol ban was lifted. The same year Hollywood was annexed into Los Angeles, the Biograph Acting Company went to Los Angeles to film In Old California, based on the Helen Hunt Jackson novel. They liked the area so much because of its diverse nature that they decided to make a permanent studio there. David Wark Griffith, a director within the Biograph Company, decided to settle on the recently annexed Hollywood municipality. There, he made the film, the first film ever to be filmed in Hollywood. In Old California was different from the old South Spring Street Edison film because this film actually had a narrative. In Old California was a silent Western film about the days of Mexican California. After making a few more films, they traveled back to New York and talked about the diverse scenery of California, and specifically Hollywood. Later that year, he also filmed Ramona using California's vast landscape. Director Al Christie and producer David Horsley were two filmmakers from New Jersey who got tired of trying to make westerns there and decided to move to either Florida or California. At the flip of a coin, California was decided, and by 1911 they were standing on a brown dirt road in Hollywood called Sunset Boulevard. Discovering an abandoned roadhouse and barn, they opened their own studio, the Nestor Studio, which has the distinction of being the first studio to open in Hollywood. They made their first film there, The Law of the Range, and placed a help wanted ad in the Los Angeles Times looking for actors. Their success led to them joining Carl Laemmle's independent motion pictures company the following year. Michael Sennett worked for the Biograph Company under the stage name Max Sennett, but by 1912, a lawsuit from the federal government against the MPPC would encourage many of the filmmakers of Biograph to go independent. That same year, Sennett would leave Biograph to found Keystone Studios. The films Keystone created were known for their slapstick comedy and Keystone Cops, incompetent officers who would clumsily chase the protagonists. Keystone would start the movie careers of people like Gloria Swanson, Roscoe Arbuckle, W.C. Fields, Bing Crosby, and Charlie Chaplin. In 1915, the MPPC was found guilty of breaking antitrust laws. Next time, we'll get into the fall of the MPPC.